Living Hanuman is a handbook of spiritual practices. The author has written a whole chapter called Practice, 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 where he discusses meditation, yoga, mantra, and Kundalini. We are in conversation with Pavan Kumar Mishra ji, who is the author of magnanimous book Living Hanuman. Namaste, Pavan ji.
Namaste.
Pavanji, I would like to ask you the first aspect of this chapter, which is meditation, where you have quoted many scientific papers, research papers, which are international research papers to explain such an ancient method. So, can you please tell us which is the most beneficial aspect of meditation? And there are so many kinds of meditation now. So, what are the differences and similarities between those meditation?
Let us first understand what meditation actually is. It comes from a Latin word, medi stare. To medi means center in the median, stare means to be in the center. That is all what meditation is. A good example or a good type of meditation can be seen in women, rural women in India, who carry pictures on their head, one picture after another, 4 or 5 pictures. And a group of such women are walking by with filled pitchers on their head, talking to one another, and not a drop of water falls off. It happens because though they are relaxed and they are speaking to each other and they are walking, almost dancing their way back home, they are in the center at every given moment. Their center of gravity is precisely where it should be. This is meditation, to center us, to tune us into our own core and keep us there at every moment, so that while we go about doing our work, we remain centered. This is meditation. Now, it is said that there are many types of meditations. There are not many types of meditations. You can say there are many ways to arrive into this state of being in meditation. Just as we are in a state of wakefulness, just as we are in a state of dream, we are in a state of sleep. We don't do sleep or we don't do dream. We just dream. We are in that state. Similarly, meditation is also a state of consciousness in which we are totally aligned and in center. Now, as far as different methods are concerned, some methods use images. So you sit down and you begin to imagine certain things, certain objects, certain pictures, or a lake or a situation. Imagination. Some methods use imagination. Some methods use sound. That sound aspect is known as mantra. So you give yourself a sound cue, a verbal cue, and you keep repeating it, so that it helps your mind to come into the center. So these are two broad types of meditations. Otherwise, there is a text by the name of Vijnana Bhairav Tantra of Kashmir Shaivism. It lists down 112 types of meditation. I've referred to some of them in the book itself. Those are the different types of meditations. But whichever type of meditation you follow, one should remember that the goal has to be centeredness within ourselves, so that none of the pitcher falls down or no water sprinkles out of the pitcher that we are carrying on our heads.
That's a beautiful way of explaining meditation. Now, I would like to ask you something about yoga. You have said that there are so many yoga brands which are floating. So, I would like to know what is the fundamental framework of yoga, and does yoga and meditation they have any connection? Are they interrelated? So, I would like to know that.
Okay. Now, again, as you rightly said, many brands of yoga. But yoga essentially means to be one, to be united with yourself. There is a central consciousness and there is a scattered awareness around it. When these two will come together, you can say in one way It is yoga. Yoga just means union. If you go to the definition of yoga, Sage Vyas, in his commentary on Yoga Sutra, on the first sutra of Yoga Sutra, says, Yoga Samadhi. He says, Yoga Samadhi. He does not even use the word is in between yoga and samadhi and saying yoga is samadhi. He finds yoga and samadhi to be so twin, to be so one, exactly the same. And samadhi means a resolved mind, a mind which is peaceful, harmonious, resolved. That is what samadhi is at its most approachable meaning. There are higher forms of samadhi in which this thought of being resolved also is dropped. So if we say yoga to be samadhi, or yoga to be a harmonious state of mind, then that harmonious state of mind itself is meditation, as we have seen earlier. So the relationship between yoga and meditation is, you can say yoga is meditation. You can say that. Yoga is meditation. Otherwise, in the most standard format of arriving into meditation, eight-limbed yoga is described. It is known as the Raj Yoga. And there, meditation or dhyana is the seventh limb of yoga. So, out of the various limbs, meditation is the seventh limb of yoga in the Raj Yoga tradition. So, you can say that is the relationship between yoga and meditation. But most simply said, one can simply say yoga is meditation. Why you feel confused many a times, or many people feel confused many times, is that in the text of Patanjali, in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, definition of yoga is given as sthiram sukham asanam. So people translate it as stillness, joyfully still, or joyful stillness is asana. I translate it like that, but people translate it as a posture in which you feel comfortable and you are still, is known as asana. But that is not what Patanjali is indicated. Patanjali is not talking about a posture. Patanjali is talking about a state of mind which is joyfully still, and not a position of body. Their asana does not mean a posture of body. And therefore, a lot of confusion. People mix hatha yoga, which again has been misinterpreted as twisting of the body. Uh, Bottom line is, there are many interpretations. The tools of yoga are also known as yoga. The goal of yoga is also known as yoga. The process of yoga is also known as yoga. So we do not know what we have to define, what the context in which we are using this word, and then it is easy to be understood. Uh, a very uh, uh, a very cool understanding will be, yoga is not twisting of the body, but straightening of the mind. And straightening of mind is meditation. Hence, we can say yoga is meditation. That's the
Okay,
relationship.
lovely explanation, and it did bring a lot of clarity to people like me who are, delving into this. Now, the third aspect which I would like to ask you is about mantra. You have said the third aspect in this section of practice. I would like to know, what is mantra, what are its effects, and you have even quoted Dr. Emoto, I think his research work about mantra, and how do we know which is our mantra?
There are a lot of questions built into
Yes.
one.
Yes.
So, what is mantra? Mantra is a sound syllable that takes the mind across. Manahatrayati iti mantra. That which would liberate the mind from its own shackles of multi-layered maze of thoughts. That sound syllable that can liberate the mind, take it across these the maze of its own web, is known as mantra. Now, Traditionally, we have mantras which are made out of sound syllables from the Sanskrit language. There are mantra in Pali language. There could be a mantra in any language, but as long as it is a sound syllable, it is just not a random sound syllable. There is again a science of phonetics behind it. These mantras work as a password to your own, to access your own mind field and harmonize it. So they become they can be used as password, or they are passwords. Now, when we say which mantra is most suitable for you, the best way to answer that question is to begin with any mantra that comes to you naturally is most suitable to you. Suppose you are growing up in a Vedic tradition and Om Namah Shivaya is a mantra that you relate with, then that is the mantra which is most suitable to you. You should start chanting that. Or the Gayatri mantra, if you're exposed to that, used to that, then chanting that mantra will be most beneficial for you. As you progress on this path, you will come across someone who understands the science of mantra more than you. You might come across such a person who might be able to guide you deeper and who might be able to tweak your mantra, the mantra that you're doing, or give you a new mantra, which is known as a mantra initiation, which normally a guru does. He initiates you into a mantra, then that mantra becomes your mantra. Another way to understand what your mantra could be is also through astrology, where we can identify which are the phonemes, which are the sounds that are most resonant to your energy field, and they can be put together and a mantra created out of that. That is another method to know your mantra. But bottom line is, and then there are some people who don't believe in all of this. People could be atheists, agnostics. They don't believe in it. They believe in science and rational thinking. For them, my guru used to say, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Even this is a mantra. Just mentally chanting 1, 2 with awareness on the breath will also center the mind. There is no sound which is not a mantra. Like in Ayurveda, it is said, there is no herb which is not a medicine. Similarly, there is no sound which is not a mantra. Only its usage varies. What is the benefit of a mantra? As I said right in the beginning, mantra centers our mind. It is an aid, it's a tool to meditation. Our mind thinks in terms of sounds and images. Mantra is the sound in which we anchor our minds. Scientifically speaking, chanting of a mantra um, initiates or enhances the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response, and it instantly brings our breath rate and other things into harmony. Heart rate, breath rate, they become harmonized, and our internal space becomes totally harmonized, pacified, cleansed, clear. And this is the first advantage and the largest advantage of chanting a mantra.
Very well explained, Pavanji. Thank you. And now the last aspect of practice, 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 which is Kundalini. I have been reading a lot about it, and I've never come across an explanation that was so simplistic for me to absorb. And I would like to ask you. You have said Kundalini is a life force itself. So, can you explain Kundalini, which I don't know why there are so many complications around Kundalini, and the way you have written is very simple to follow, simple to understand, but I would like it to hear from you.
So, Kundalini simply means that which is coiled. Kundalini means that which is coiled, that which is lying coiled. And that coiled energy or consciousness is yourself, you yourself, or me myself. Each one of us are in one way coiled kundalinis aspiring to straighten up or come up, travel up, flow. That is a deep aspiration built into this consciousness. And that is why this seeking, there is a certain seeking within each one of us, seeking of something larger. We know, each one knows there is something larger, and we want to merge into it, like rivers flowing into an ocean. So you can say, we all, each one of us is a river, and that river, you can say, is Kundalini. When you would imagine a river coiled in a glacier, that is the Kundalini. And also the flow of the river is Kundalini itself. But when we refer to Kundalini in normal parlance, we would refer to a river frozen in a glacial form. And then a certain heat triggers its flow. It becomes a gentle flow. And a lot happens on its path, and it finally reaches the ocean. So each one of us are these streams of Kundalini flowing into a large ocean, also of Kundalini, of the impersonal, total, supraconscious Kundalini, into which each one of us flow into. Within our body, for ease of understanding, we say that Kundalini travels along the neural pathway, the autonomous nervous system's pathway in the spine. We say like that. And the nerve at the plexuses, at the various neural plexuses along this pathway, we experience a certain surge or a certain pulsation of that energy, which we refer to as chakras or vortices of spiritual energy. But it is a misnomer to understand that that energy lives there. No, imagine a phone, a smartphone, on which you have all the app and symbols of all the apps on the screen. So if you look at Google, app of Google, the symbol of that, Google is not inside that symbol. When you touch it, when you touch it through that symbol, the server of Google, which is sitting somewhere in Hong Kong or sitting in US, gets accessed. That server is not, the information is not behind that app. Similarly, these chakras are those app symbols, you can say, symbol of heart chakra, symbol of navel chakra, symbol of third eye chakra. These are only symbols. When we bring our awareness to these symbol points, through that we access the cosmic third eye, or whatever possibility that has to give us. It is as if you can say that these are gateways into wormholes that connect us into parallel universes. These are those points. The vortex of energy does not sit there behind the neural plexus. We feel something because it is a neural plexus, and if you constantly become aware of that plexus, some sensation will be felt. But that sensation is not actually what we refer to as Kundalini. Whereas if we turn the whole thing around, we can say every sensation that we feel is the sensation of Kundalini itself. It is, we are conscious Kundalinis ourselves. So there is nothing apart from Kundalini that we can refer to as being my Kundalini or your Kundalini. That way we can see that.
It's beautiful. And in the book, you have quoted that you don't have a Kundalini, you are your own Kundalini, and these practices take you to your own self. This book has questions which are in journey, questions where you reflect yourself, and that is arising or your Kundalini. We will continue these conversations in more depth in future. So thank you, Pavanji, for this lovely explanations of all these things that you have written. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.